I'd like to officially call this meeting to order, and if you would all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all for joining us on this rainy evening that almost seems like back to school time. Almost. Have board members had a chance to take a look at the agenda? There are no changes. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the agenda has been adopted. And now we will send it over to you, Superintendent Jesse, for your report.
Good evening. Thank you, Board President Davidson, other board directors, families, staff, other community members, and I think we even got some students here this evening, so that's excellent. Really, I have two primary announcements. Back to School Festival is this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Olympic Middle School, so just across the way here. We'll have something for everyone, so it'll be nice to allow folks to, if you need backpacks, information from community services, obviously district services are there as well. Folks have questions for the district, games, books, and food. So there'll both be snacks and also canned items for bags if families do want to take them home. So really, last year was a very popular event. Hundreds of people were lined up right at 10 o'clock. And so that was very popular, and so anticipate a lot of people coming for that as well. Speaking of back to school, school starts September 6th. I do advise all families to get online, check out your school's website, get information around specifically the start and end times. I know it's always seems like something's coming through there. You might have, could be the same time as always. Generally they are, but it's always good just to remind yourself so you're just not off. We are really trying to push a little bit this year of not dropping off students up to an hour before school. It's very limited supervision at that time. Staff are getting ready for your student. And so you want to allow that. And so just a reminder, and we've been working really hard on the buses too. So really trying to, we did some reroute. We have some new software related to the busing routes. So I really have a lot of hope for that. New levels of communication from the software that will help us. So there may be a few bumps in the road. Anybody knows about downloading any new software on your phone or any other device? It does sometimes run into a few issues, but I do think ultimately once we get through some of those typical bugs, it'll even be better communication around for transportation. And then just my last comment is if you are interested in being a substitute bus driver, we continue to recruit for bus drivers always. We've been able to make a number of hires this last summer, so I'm very optimistic, but I'm going to still recruit for anybody who's interested in working at all in any level around being a substitute bus driver with the Shelton School District. If you are interested, just simply call the main line. We will help set you up, and if you want to come in, we'll help you fill out the application as well. So with that, thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for your report. Next up, we do have community comments, and I do have quite a few people that have signed up for community comments tonight, so I am going to read the standard language that we have around that, but I do want to reiterate that we do keep community comments to 3 minutes. If you do start to go over that, because there are so many tonight, I will have to tell you that your time is up, and we may have to cut the microphone if you do not stop. So as part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and or by phone as conditions allow. If speaking in person, please follow the public comment procedure by signing in and stating your name and address at the podium when called by the board chair. If making comments by phone, please dial 1-253-215-8782 and enter meeting ID number 872-5618-1978. Each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board will direct the superintendent to follow up on any items that arise during public comment as appropriate. The board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. And Randy Lewis, you are first up. I walked in when you signed up, so thank you for coming up to the podium.
Thank you. I have some advice. If you're in the middle of a fall and you have the choice between breaking your arm or breaking your ribs, pick your arm. Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Lewis, 100 East Island Lake Court, within the Shelton School District borders. I'm a proud graduate of Mountain View Grade School and Shelton High School. Tonight, I'm providing information on an upcoming civic education program by the League of Women Voters of Mason County. This program is designed to let the public know more about the work of school boards and provide the opportunity to learn about school board incumbents and new candidates. Several members of the League of Women Voters of Mason County Voter Services Committee have been designated as contacts for the various candidate groups. I'm the contact for the candidates for the Shelton School Board. First, there's a program featuring representatives from the Washington State Board Association and the Washington Association of School Administrators. They will explain the roles and responsibilities of school board members. This program will take place September 19th at 12 p.m. noon at the Olympic College Library in Shelton, and also by Zoom. And my understanding is Mason Webb will record the meeting as well. Now this is the fun one, October 17th at 6:30 at the PUD conference room is our speed dating program for candidates. The candidates for that meeting will be City Council, Shelton City Council, Superior Court Judge, and for the Shelton School Board. Candidates should already have been sent a letter describing the event and soon will receive another letter with more information. We would appreciate RSVPs from Shelton School Board candidates. The way it works, the public sits at tables around the room and candidates move from table to table answering questions from the public. So this is your chance to have live interactive conversations with candidates. For the other school boards in the county, on October 4th and October 11th at 6:30, there will be a Zoom informational sessions for school board incumbents and candidates from those school districts. In general, we would like to learn more about the candidates, their views, and their thoughts on what makes a healthy, strong school district. We do have some flyers in the room describing these events and details. Linda Links and Sandy Miller over there, who are fellow Voter Services Committee members, have some, and Allison has some of these flyers. Wait till after the meeting is over before you go up there and get them from her. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. All right, Jessica Roberson.
Hi, my name is Jessica Roberson. I am a lifelong resident of Shelton. I have 2 teenagers and I teach biomedical science at Shelton High School. I have been a reader since I was big enough to hold books. As a kid, I read everything I could get my hands on. To quote the author Judy Blume, my mother worried about everything, but she never worried about what I was reading. Well, my mother never worried about what I was reading either. I think she was just happy I liked books. As a kid, I fed my mind a steady diet of true crime books written by Seattle author Ann Rule. I am happy to report that in my life, I have never killed a single person. But what I learned is that there is evil in this world and to lock my doors at night. These crime books also included depictions of sex. Reading about sex did not corrupt my mind or lead me into promiscuity, and it certainly did not prime me for sexual trafficking. In fact, it did the opposite. It taught me how to protect myself from it. My book club and I collectively read the 8 books that were in question at the last school board meeting. The one that I chose was called I'll Give You the Sun. Represented in this book were homosexuality, rape, suicide ideation, and underage drinking. These things were all small parts that supported the story, but were not the story itself. The theme of this book being the evolution of a teenage brother and sister's relationship as they navigated the early death of a parent. I would have no problem at all with my 2 kids reading it. Most books, including the classics and even the Holy Bible, contain sentences that can be isolated from their context and delivered for shock value. But selecting a few salacious lines to represent an entire book is not only inaccurate, it is deceitful. In the thousands of books I have read in my life, I have never become the subject of a book. Reading is powerful, but not powerful enough to transform a person into something they are not. What reading does have the power to do, though, is foster creativity and imagination, give mastery of the English language, and to teach respect and appreciation for the world around us.
Thank you. Lonnie Rickard.
Members of the Shelton School Board, my name is Lonnie Rickard. I come before you today representing a diverse group of women. We are mothers, teachers, nurses, artists, local politicians, and business owners. Our children attend Shelton schools, and we live and work in the community. After watching last month's school board meeting, we decided to read the 8 books that were called out as inappropriate. What we found is that they delve into important topics that resonate with today's youth, fostering empathy, critical thinking, and a broader understanding of today's world. Looking for Alaska and Eleanor Park explore the complexities of adolescent relationships and the challenges of self-discovery. I'll Give You the Sun delves into themes of identity and family dynamics, while The Hate U Give addresses racial injustice and activism, encouraging students to engage in conversations about social change. This 57 bus provides insight into empathy, understanding, and the consequences of impulse actions. Last Night at the Telegraph Club and Like a Love Story sensitively portrays LGBTQ's experiences, and A Brave New World serves as a thought-provoking exploration of ethical dilemmas in a dystopian society. In reviewing all of these books, what we realize is that their contents is no different than what is currently available today on television, the internet, movies, social media, or video games. Using selective excerpts to dismiss the inclusion of these books ignores the broader context and the educational value that they offer. We should be encouraging students to explore diverse viewpoints and confront uncomfortable subjects. These books represent a choice for students and parents to engage with literature that reflects the complexities of our society and encourages thoughtful discussion, recognizing that every student's educational journey is unique. Providing a diverse array of books allows each individual to find solace with narratives that resonate with their own experiences and interests. I encourage the opposition to read these books and consider the broader implications of simply banning them. In a world that demands open-mindedness and a deeper understanding of complex issues, these books offer an exceptional opportunity for our students to explore, question, and grow. Let us embrace the power of literature to challenge, enlighten, and empower our students, fostering an environment of intellectual growth and open discourse. Thank you.
Thank you. Jenna Stewart.
My name is Jenna Stewart. I have the privilege of living in the Shelton School District. I also have 3 kids that have or are currently going through the district, and I get to work with our wonderful students teaching high school math. I am here today to push back against the vocal minority trying to ban books that my kids' teachers and my co-workers have found age and content appropriate. Those teachers have used their professional experiences and expertise to select books that will be that will meet the standards they are expected to teach. They would never assign books they have not read. The teachers are not endorsing the content. They are challenging students to broaden their soon-to-be adult perspectives. The district has also started using literary circles in an attempt to ensure that kids can select books that are interesting and relevant to them. And as importantly, students can select books that align with their values. As a teacher, I love it when parents are involved in their students' education. Students who have parents asking what they learned every day, asking who they played with or hung out with, asking how they are doing in class, and holding them accountable for their actions are the most successful students in my class. As a parent and a teacher, I have loved having conversations with my own kids about what they are reading and the lessons they learn from books. I talk to my own kids about sexually explicit content and help them understand what aligns with my values I hope my own kids adopt. I also talk to my own kids about racially charged content, teaching them what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, and that context matters in many situations. School curriculum is an important tool in these conversations. And as a parent, I do not want a few people with no expertise in literacy dictating what my children can and cannot read. And I am not alone. A study in 2022 showed that 71% of parents disagreed with having books chosen by experts removed from libraries and classrooms. I am in the majority. As a society, many of us have started to demonize expertise, and that is more terrifying to me than anything my children will ever read. I am sure several of the people advocating for book bans will say they are not banning books, but by not relying on the expertise of professionals and having no expertise in literacy themselves, that is exactly what they are advocating for. Book bans, by any name, do more harm than good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Wolf.
Thank you. My name is Thomas Wolf, and I live in this community, live in Shelton, have for a little while now, and I'd like to say that, it seems to me while the rest of y'all are, while the rest of us have to follow the rules, you either don't know them or you just don't care. One of your obligations is basic education, and this is actually in your RCWs. I suggest that you read them. One of your obligations is basic education, and looking at our district's performance, I'd say that you have failed your jobs. We are at the bottom 50%. The bottom 50%. How can you actually tell us that you're doing your job? And let's see, in recent years, we have seen a huge shift towards the promotion of political ideologies over the essential curriculum. I want to say that the BLM movement has no business being in our schools. That is a political ideology, and it has no business being here. Anything to do with the LGBT is of sexual preference, which makes it a sexual topic that you have no business teaching our children. The rights of the state do not supersede the Constitution. That is the supremacy clause. Any law, state or federal, that attempts to supersede the Constitution is null and void. So I'd also like to say that this is not a movie, social media, or some freaking game. This is school. Turning to our educational values, the principle of respect of self, again in your RCWs, the respect of self and others is paramount. Regrettably, recent decisions have led to the introduction of divisive ideologies that prioritize biased history and create a victim-oppressive narrative. A victim-oppressor narrative. This strays from fostering genuine respect for oneself and others. Our duty is to nurture well-rounded individuals who are taught to love themselves, not to instill self-doubt onto our children. I express deep concerns and anger here today about the introduction of sexual topics and political ideologies in our schools. Education should be about fostering knowledge and critical thinking, not promoting agendas. Let children be children. And let schools be sanctuaries for learning devoid of divisive influences. Our focus should be instilling genuine education, not political indoctrination. Lastly, the issue of gender identity and sexuality is not yours to correct. It is not yours to correct. While we must create inclusive environments, we must also respect parental rights and ensure that our schools remain appropriate for all ages. I am telling you today that what you are doing is wrong. I request a recall of our superintendent and a recalibration of our priorities, or a delegation of responsibilities to those who genuinely care. I will gladly do your job if you refuse to do so, and that is also in the RCWs, and it is also your power to do so. So think about it. So I have listened to what people have said today, and it really disgusts me that so many teachers in this community are fighting to talk about sexual topics with other people's children. They are not your children.
Your time is up. Can we please?
Thank you.
The next community comment we have is from Dean Remillard.
Good evening, I'm Dean Remillard. I live on Bayview Avenue in Shelton and have for 3 years. I just wanted to come and comment tonight on the books as everyone else has been commenting. I want to address the teachers who have spoken and just say that I think both you and I know that literature, films, TV, all of that has an agenda behind it. And so we're concerned about the agenda behind the literature that has been selected. There's been a study by the NIH which indicated that an increase in access to pornographic or sexually explicit literature leads to increased sexual activity, much of it risky in nature. I think we would all agree that we want to raise healthy kids, and what ends up happening is there are different viewpoints of what is healthy. I think that we would all agree that our kids are very precious. And in my instance, it's going to be my grandkids, as you can tell by my gray hair. And contrary to some of the statements that have been made by individuals on the board, not everybody is doing it. In fact, studies from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey in 2019 indicated that 40% of students in high school have had a sexual encounter. 30% consider themselves currently sexually active. These statistics vary depending on the source, whether it's the CDC, U.S. News and World Report, or other sources. The results, though, they all agree on of early sexual experimentation are as follows. Typically, it results in lower grades, much higher rates of STDs. Depression, reported very frequently with those who are sexually active. Increases in abortions, increases in adolescent childbirth, and probably the most important thing, 50% of females indicated that they were coerced into sexual experiences in high school, not as a willing participant. So we need to protect the females in our schools as well. And as far as the comment of everyone is doing it, if we took that mentality, then I would suggest that we set up vending machines that are selling alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs to accommodate those students who are doing it anyway. Contrary to popular belief, most kids are not sexually active in high school, nor are they doing drugs or smoking or other risky behaviors. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dean Jewett.
Here we are again. Dean Jewett, lifelong Mason County member, graduate of Shelton High School. I'm embarrassed of several of you guys. You know, I think you know who you are. Yeah, I just gave you the look. The study session that we had, there was an individual that called for it to go into a private session multiple times. If you can't take the heat, get out of the fire. You're here for a reason. You're here to take care of our kids. Okay, you're not here to take care of yourself. There's another individual that asked over and over and over about a rating system. There's a rating system that's out there. It's real easy to find. I can't believe that some of these books actually made it through 3 different phases and nobody questioned it, and then it came to you guys before one brave member had to bring it up, and then a couple of members actually did make some really good comments. I appreciate it. There's some of you that I didn't think would make those type of comments. So I do appreciate that. Okay? So there's the 25 books we're talking about. Okay? There's 150 books that you guys were looking through. Does anybody remember Jesse making a big brag about buying 70,000 books? Okay? Did anybody ever get a look at those? Are some of those 70,000 books from the same publishers that these books came from? And if they are, did we really get a good deal on them? Because as far as I know, I don't believe that that list was ever vetted or ever even given to anybody to look at. So how many of those books would be flagged? Doesn't seem like it's that hard to flag those books if you punch them in. Data, numbers, can they be manipulated? Can they be skewed? Can you look at a certain report that's biased to indicate and push your narrative? Absolutely. So, 70% this, 70% that, we can also combat that. Our superintendent threw out their 50% literacy rate in high school, 30% literacy rate in elementary school. And that by putting these type of books out there, we're going to increase that. I bet you there's other topics out there that kids would be interested in that would probably get that same kind of a raise. Okay? I've got 4 or 5 pages of notes that we took. But one thing I want the board to know, the tail does not wag the dog. Okay? So that means you do not need to look to your superintendent to make decisions or to give you the guidance. It's up to the board to tell him what to do. And it would be really nice if we told him to hit the highway. So, anyway, that's my opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That concludes public comments this evening. We are now going to go into the public hearing on the proposed 2023-2024 school district budget. So at this time, I'm opening that up for the public to comment on the budget. Yes, Bob, please come up to the podium.
Bob Rogers, 229 Wyandotte here in Shelton. Chair Davidson, School Board, thank you for this time to comment on next year's budget. First, some comments on your process. It was just about 2 months ago that the district presented the preliminary budget within a few days of when it was required by the OSPI. And tonight, we are having the required public meeting on the budget on a night you plan to adopt the budget. And I believe it's within a few days of what is required to be into the state. Prior to June's preliminary budget, and now the final budget, I do not believe you have any study sessions or any other meetings addressing the proposed budget. Whether you're getting information at a briefing or not does not address the lack of public involvement. Specific to the budget, I focus on the 4-year outlook required by the RCW. The 4-year budget outlook has serious flaws which make it unsustainable. First, total general revenues are up about 1% per year. Much of the increase is from our no new tax levy. The local levy revenue increase reflects a 20% increase in my property taxes above the current levy rate, and probably close to another 20% due to valuation. The local levy has rescued the district over the loss of COVID ESSER funds. My biggest concern, though, is the inadequate reflection of expenditures, which also magically are up around 1% a year. Looking back at history, expenditures are almost up over 20% in the last 3 years, which is about 6% a year. Using this historical record, that would put the district in a hole of about $10 million in 2026 at the end of the 3-year projection. There are several bargaining units coming up tonight, I think, and I doubt if any of them are increasing at 1% a year based on our recent inflation period. So I ask you to think about the answer to yourself, does this budget sustainable in 4 years? And if not, please think about that as you make decisions on both contracts and the budget. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments on the open public hearing for the budget? All right, seeing none, we will close this public hearing on the proposed 2023-24 school district budget. We do not have any items in reports and recognitions this evening, so we're going to move right into the consent agenda, which we do have a lot of things as we start the school year. So there's a number of different items there. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. It's always nice to see the student activities that are going on, that the Drake Scholarship funds are being used, and those are all items also appearing on the consent agenda. So I'll move that. We approve those.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the consent agenda has passed. Under discussion and action items, we have 4 items. The first one is the proposed resolution number 23-02 adopting the 2023-2024 school district budget. And we have Brenda Trogstad to talk to us about that, and it is recommended for approval.
Good evening, President Davidson and school board members. Our proposed budget and the 4-year budget plan that we get from an OSPI tool is provided on our website. I didn't print you copies because it killed a tree for each one that I printed, so they are out there for the public and you to see. It's under the finance department and budget, and it's right at the top, so if anyone hasn't reviewed the actual document. I'm requesting that you approve the resolution 23-02 for the adoption of our 23-24 budget. As part of that, it is our 23-24 budget, which is the big document. There is a 4-year summary plan that is just an estimate, and it does come from an OSPI tool on their website, and then a 4-year enrollment projection, and we kept that at our conservative level that we did. There were very few changes from the presentation I did for you at the June school board meeting. It was just a few updates on revenue that was coming in, and that was really the only changes in the dollar amounts. So general fund expenditures are at $78,362,923. Our capital project fund is slowly dwindling down, closing out everything, so it's $81,500. Transportation vehicle fund is estimated at $200,000 to buy buses. Debt service fund to pay our bond for the construction projects. The bond repayments are at $4,599,750. And then our associated student body August 31st because we're considered a first-class district. Educational Service District 113 has also gone through this with fine-tooth comb and approved everything. So.
All right, thank you. Do board members have questions for Brenda at this time?
I have one.
Okay.
Brenda, do we have a reserve fund, and where do we find that in the documentation?
So the fund balance is your reserve technically. There's reserves built in for capacity for different things, like we build reserves in our substitute teacher account because we know sometimes that can go higher, but there's not a line item that is a reserve. So if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Here's a line item that says unassigned fund balance, and it's 3 million, and that's 890, GL 890. Is that what that would be?
Well, that is your fund balance. That's your money in the bank, technically, after all expenditures and revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just mentioned an item that seems to go over budget, substitute teachers. Can you name some others that we have to be careful in our district?
That's really been our big one because of lack of substitute drivers also. We had that, but that was kind of offset because we weren't paying drivers their salaries. Substitute teachers has been our big one, quite honestly, and it really was due to COVID because we had so many staff and lack of staff and people sick. So typically in a normal year, it doesn't go over budget much, but we have padded that a little just in case because you just never know what's going to happen. So typically most of them are down to exacts. You know, we do our teacher salaries exactly, our classified salaries exactly. We put in professional development training as a lump sum to cover those costs. We do estimates on those as we're preparing the calendar for the year. So we go through a lot of detail and line items to build our budget.
What about maintenance and repairs? Is that?
It's in there. We take Robert, I work with him, and he gives me estimates on what we need the following year, and we put those in. We have our utilities in there. They are lined out per the accounting manual by power and water, and that there's separate line items for those.
And I know that we have switched over now to a new system for our budget that you have from the OSPI. And how do you like that? Is that giving you better information?
We actually haven't switched, sorry. We're still in their same software. It's called EDS, and we just upload it from Westpac. We will eventually go to the Q, which is cumulative, which is also under a Skyward program, but right now we're still in Westpac. It'll probably be next summer by the end before we will do that conversion.
I see. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Brenda, you would say that this budget, and I know we talked about this in June, is generally a rollover budget from the year before. There's not a lot that is very different from what we were previously doing last year.
Right, so what we do, we take and I upload current year, and then we go through line item by line item. We have been meeting constantly with state and federal programs, building directors of departments, and we go through and they submit their budgets requests, and we go through that and make the revisions clear through. I do the same thing on the revenue side. We update all revenue based on, you have OSPI tools that you use for projections. We get notifications from state and federal grants in each one. Indian Ed, we just got that one, so it didn't get updated in here because once you submit it July 10th, you typically don't make many changes unless the ESD requests that you do make a change. So.
Okay.
I have a couple. Special ed, hasn't that been an area that in the past has been sometimes subject to running over its budget as well? Okay. And I know we increased that one to try and keep up with the amount. So this year, do we think that we'll still have an overage, or we'll still run over, or we have increased it enough that we think we have reached?
Well, the budget doesn't typically run over because we budget it with what we believe will be in there. Unless you have some new students come in that are very high need, could potentially go over. But we try to anticipate that the special ed department system prepares based on their student enrollment that they currently know and the needs, and prepare the budget and submits it, and then we enter it from there. But the state funding does not cover all the costs of special ed by any means.
Right. I remember there was a substantial shortage several years back, and we've been trying to chip away at that.
Yeah.
Speaking of chipping away, also wanted to follow up on some of the maintenance. We'd seen a presentation where there's quite a bit of maintenance, large maintenance items coming down the pipeline. And are we able to do anything to start chipping away at those now?
So Robert puts together his annual list. He and I sat down this summer and actually went through some of them to see what we could do this next year. But there's a lot of those that unless you do an additional levy or a bond issue, there's no way you're going to be able to chunk those off with state funding and local levy dollars. And I don't know if Wyeth wants to step in on that too.
Yeah, we've also had a number of large pieces of equipment that maintenance use also give out. We've got some issues with AV, so that we're just a little, just as you try to take a step forward, as most homeowners would know, you take a step back. And so we're really flatlining just around our maintenance. We're just maintaining, but we're not able to check new items off of it. There's just not the money. And just on the special education, I just would be really clear about, one thing that even educators we have to explain on most years is it is one lump sum that comes from the state, really. Yes, there are things that are obviously dedicated to special education, but you're going to end up paying that with the levy and baseline dollars for your overspends, and that still comes out of that same large pool of money. It's not like some new additional monies come from the state or the federal government that help offset any of those additional costs for special education outside of a thing called safety net, which is an application for students, just as what Brenda was saying, who are extremely expensive, who usually come with a one-on-one, for example, or receive more intensive services, usually in a therapeutic setting outside of the school district. So those are why I think when you're talking about the overall budget and moving it, it's not you are rolling over most of your expenses because 85% are staff, right, that continue in their positions, and then you're trying to do the things like maintenance, and then when you have additional sub costs that could run like last year $1 million over with those sub costs, and a lot of people that still has to come out of that pot of money, so that's why it's very expensive. So anyway, I'm just trying to fill in some of the gaps here as listening to this conversation.
Thank you.
And the last question is about IT. Specifically, I'm thinking about the Chromebooks. I know, things age out. I'm just kind of looking for an update on, what our needs will be specifically for Chromebooks. Do we still have, a proper ratio between students and Chromebooks and enough parts, and, how many are getting obsolete, needing to be replaced? Is that something we're going to be able to replace within the budget?
Yes. So what we've been doing, I'll give you a little detail. When we put all the Chromebooks out during COVID, to be honest, there's almost 400 that did not come back in that process. But most of those now are in that aging out, so we've just put that aside. ESSER dollars are great to buy Chromebooks. We've got an order going in on that. We've got another order going in right now out of the tech budget for the 22-23 year to finish their budget off. Usually what they do is they'll wait till year end and come to me and say, hey, do we still have capacity to replace some things? And so I'll run all their dollars for them and give the IT coordinator the dollar amount, and they get an order placed. So we do have new Chromebooks coming in. We start shuffling them. The CTE department has bought a bunch of new Chromebooks, so we'll take their old ones that still have a lifespan of a couple years left in them, and we'll shift them over into other areas where we can continue to use them. So we're constantly moving those around, but we're in good shape on Chromebooks.
Any other questions on the budget, or do we have a motion?
I did have one more. Sorry about
All right,
that.
let's.
as a business owner, and the Washington Cares tax that went into effect mid-year, just was kind of curious in the budget how that is going to be paid or charged. Is that employee paid or?
It's paid by our employees.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? Or do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the consent agenda or discussion and action items.
It's going to be the proposed resolution. It's got to be the exact line number there for 8.01.
I motion to approve the proposed resolution number 2302, adopting the 23-24 school district budget.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed resolution number 2302, adopting the 2023-24 school district budget. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the school district budget for 2023-24 has passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. And you can stay up there for the next several things. So 8.02 is the proposed awarding of the 2023-2024 fuel bid.
Yes. Earlier in the summer, we went out to bid, formal bid. We advertised 2 consecutive weeks in the paper, and then we also have vendors that request to receive the bid packet, so we mail those out personally. We got 3 bids. They were Small&Son Oil, Petrocard, and World Connect. Petrocard has won the bid as the lowest bidder. What we do is use the rack price that comes out of Tacoma, Seattle area, and they bid a margin on it. And they were our lowest bidder. Petrocard is our current vendor, so we know we work well with them. So I would ask that you approve the fuel bid for the 23-24 school year.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Brenda around the fuel bids? Or is there a motion?
I motion to approve the proposed awarding of the 23-24 fuel bid.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed awarding of the 2023-24 fuel bid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, your proposal bid has passed.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to the dairy bid. So this is the proposed awarding of the 2023-24 dairy bid.
We bid the dairy bid at the same time as we did the fuel bid, so it was also advertised for 2 consecutive weeks. We do only have one vendor in the area that bids on this, and they've been our vendor for years now, and they're wonderful to work with. It's Dairy Fresh Farms. So I would request that you approve the dairy bid for Dairy Fresh Farms.
All right, are there any questions for Brenda on this or any comments? I believe for the last 8 years that I've been on the board, it's been Dairy Fresh.
Yes.
And every year I am shocked to see how much chocolate milk wins over regular milk as far as the purchase. It is more than double. So obviously kids like chocolate milk at school, but they also give us apple juice and lots of regular milk and orange juice too. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion to award the bid for the 23-24 dairy bid.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed awarding of the 2023-24 dairy bid. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Hearing none, that dairy bid has passed. And now we get to look at 8.04, which is the proposed list of items to be declared as surplus.
Yes, okay. In your packet, you will see all the items that came forward from the schools this year. I want to give thank you to Allison. She typed all this for me, pages and pages. We do have a process. If it is declared surplus tonight, then I submit it to ESD 113 tomorrow morning, and they send it out to the other districts and the ESD and it stays there for 30 days if anyone ever wants any of this. I've never had anyone come forward and want anything, but we do have to do that legally. And then from there, we will be doing a surplus sale. Robert is hoping to do it at the end of September. We're a little later this year because of board meetings and that type of thing. So I would request that you approve the surplus list, and we will move forward with just getting rid of it. So.
All right, thank you. Are there questions regarding the proposed surplus list?
Well, I did notice some of my favorite teaching tools in that list, but I guess the era of the overhead projector is gone.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to let it go.
I know.
No, and I saw other math manipulatives that I probably used and have my fingerprints on, but yes, I think new materials need to be updated.
If you have sentimental value, you can always come to the sale. And
okay. I'll be there.
I had a question and was looking through the list of condition and wondered, what does it mean when it says condition is unknown? You know, you could have conditions that are, scratched, or it's bad, or it's poor.
They probably didn't put it on there, so we wrote unknown on the list, would be what I would anticipate. So usually they're pretty good about saying it's poor or bad, or, yeah, so.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying if there's just no comment in there at all? Because there's some.
Yeah, they had no comment, so they just put unknown.
Yeah.
To fill it in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just seeing that. All right. Are there any other questions about the proposed surplus list, or is there a motion?
I motion to approve the proposed list of items to be declared as surplus.
And I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed list of items to be declared as surplus. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the proposed list of items to be declared surplus has passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then we move into board member comments. Is there anyone that would like to begin the comments today, or shall I start with this end of the table this time, and we'll start with you, Matt?
I don't really have much. I'm looking forward to getting back into the school year and the sports and seeing the kids all back doing constructive things during the day instead of what they're doing all summer. I guess that in the last couple of meetings, everybody has, exercised their opinion, and I appreciate all of that, and understand that sitting up here and not being able to respond is not always easy, and being caught kind of in the middle isn't easy either. Just know that we do listen and ask, mostly just be nice. Everybody up here is doing it for free, and it is all for the love of your kids, and whether you agree with it or not, we're doing our part. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Sandy?
Sure. I will thank everybody for coming out and providing their public comment. Appreciate hearing from everybody. Also wanted to share or to express regarding the public hearing. The law says the legislature requires that we have a public hearing, and I've been on other boards as well, and that's the one thing about the budget is you hold a public hearing, and I would really love to see more people get excited about coming and talking about a budget, getting in on it. And I know there's a tendency sometimes to consolidate meeting time and space and do a hearing at the same time as a meeting to adopt the same budget. I wish there were a better process, a better way to make it all work, but I don't have an answer to that. I do know, having been through the budget process quite a few times here, and the fact that ESD has so many requirements and whatnot, that I'm comfortable with it. I wish that everybody in the public could be as involved as they care to be, but that's a topic for another day. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Sandy. Carla, do you have any comments this evening?
Yes, I do. I want to also thank the public for coming and expressing your concerns. We need constructive feedback, and we're about debating things and hearing from our public. So I do appreciate all points of view, and I especially like the respectful nature of tonight, and very grateful that we could hear different viewpoints. But the main thing is that we are in this job because we care about our students, we care about the kids in our community. And we had one person say she didn't think we cared about kids. And I just wanted to say, yes, that is the motivation for being here on the school board. Also, our goal is that we make our students, or we train our students to be critical thinkers. That's what we need in our society, that they need to weigh the differences and the different things coming at them. And that's what makes informed public, is people who can take information, think about it, and and put the information together for themselves. I don't think we're brainwashing anyone. We want them to make up their own mind and think about ideas. At our last extra meeting to meet on instructional materials, we accomplished 3 things at that meeting, and our newspaper really didn't address those. They wrote about the sensationalism, and I just wanted to review that in our discussion at our last meeting, special meeting, we did accomplish that the IMC, Instructional Materials Committee, would check on appropriateness of core materials, and that is an important step of that committee. And we also agreed from other board members' feedback that that committee needs, and possibly the curriculum committee, needs to use 2 or 3 websites that can overview the book and give us a rating, give us an idea what the content is. So we don't have surprises, and we know that this is for mature teenagers. No, that's not what I meant, but the rating system also gives an age system as well. The third thing we did is that our curriculum committee will use this format to look for appropriateness, and we put that language into the procedure. And not only will the IMC check for biases, but also for appropriate content. So I think we listened. We changed some of our policy because we wanted to look thoroughly at the books. And I wanted to make an emphasis of that tonight, since it wasn't listed as part of our outcome of our meeting. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that I went to some in-service training that was put on for the Shelton School District, and it was wonderful. Well, I didn't go to it all, but the 2 morning sessions I went to, and we had great leaders and speakers, exciting teachers about what's coming up and what's new. Our superintendent led a very great community event that included staff about literature and the whole idea that reading builds great lives. And so I just wanted to say I thought it was a wonderful session, and it led to great discussion. And I'm glad you worked so hard at putting that together with your team. It was a good in-service. And that is all.
All right, thank you, Carla. Lauren, do you have any comments this evening?
I just wanted to follow up also and thank Superintendent Jesse for the literacy kickoff event. It was full of enriching discussion and fun to mingle with teachers and all of their excited energy to return to the classroom this year. There was a lot of great discussion around the importance of books and literacy in our community. And thank you for hosting that and having it open to everybody. And thank you for the new voices that came and provided public comment tonight. I greatly appreciate you coming out and spending your time. It can be really difficult to be up in that hot seat up there and listening to everybody listening and hearing. So thank you.
Yes, I too want to thank everybody that came and signed up for community comments. It isn't easy to come up and stand in front of a podium unless that's something you do all the time and you get used to it. So we do appreciate the community involvement and that you all stayed for the meeting. That doesn't always happen either, and we appreciate that because, you know, we do care. We care that there are other people that are out here that care, and we do want to listen to your voices, all of the voices that are out there. I was not able to make it to that kickoff event because of work, so I was sad to miss that because I'm hearing a lot of great feedback, that there was a lot of excitement from teachers around the literacy professional development, and I think that that's fantastic. I am excited. All of us have been invited to the new teacher orientation next week, and it looks like we've got quite a few new teachers to welcome to the Shelton School District, which is always exciting. I enjoy seeing different social media pages like Mountain View who have been highlighting different teachers and show us their background and who they are. I think that's all really exciting. It's orientation, I know, at the high school, starting next week as well too, because I've got a daughter that gets to do that, so the nerves are starting to kick in for all of us. This week has been volleyball tryouts, so there's just a lot of back to school activity going on, and I don't know if you're like me, but we still need to do back to school shopping. So there's all sorts of things that are going on, but it is exciting. There's a lot of positives. We appreciate your weekly reports that are highlighting different positive things in the school district. I'm very excited for the coming school year. I know both of my daughters are as well, so I think that's going to be great. At this point in time, we are going to end this part of the meeting. We do have possible action for 3 exempt session items. So my best estimation of time with this is probably going to be that we could come back in and check in a half an hour. If anybody would like to stay, we do have to come back, do that potential action in public, and of course adjourn the meeting in public as well. So we will go into a separate room for the next half an hour to get through these 3 items, and then we will come back out here. But first, we do need to sign some paperwork before leaving, and we can take a couple minute bio break if anybody needs that as well. So thank you. Okay, it is 7:48, and we are coming out of exempt session. Item 10.01, the proposed bargain agreement with the Teamsters Mechanics. Do we have a motion?
I'd make a motion to accept the agreement between the board and the Teamsters Mechanics.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Sorry, I've got to write it down for Allison since she's not here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the proposed bargain agreement with the Teamsters Mechanics has passed. All right, item 10.02, the proposed bargain agreement with the Shelton Education Association.
I'll make a motion to accept the bargained agreement with the Shelton Education Association.
I second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed bargain agreement with the Shelton Education Association. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the proposed bargain agreement with the Shelton Education Association has passed. All right, item 10.03, the superintendent's contract.
I move to approve the superintendent's contract.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent's contract. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. Hearing none, the motion has passed. All right, all we have left is for someone to move to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, we are adjourned. We do have to sign the paperwork.
Okay.
Okay.